All right, so the president sat down with Kristen Welker at Meet the Press, and then flying back on the plane, he talked to the press like he always does, moving the story forward. The other thing that he was asked when he gave Meet the Press her third interview since he won, which is unbelievable. But she is fair. Like, she'll ask a question, what is the future of the MAGA movement? Can it continue without you? These are interesting questions. Everything, as ABC, everything's got to be a gotcha question. You're doing a terrible job. Tell us why.
I think she's just not hostile toward it.
Right.
Her tone is. But one of the questions she asked, not to get off topic, is would he consider a third term? And he finally put the issue to bed, I guess. Watch.
The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional, but this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican.
When you look to the future, Mr. President, do you think the MAGA movement can survive without you as its leader?
Yes, I do.
What gives you...
I think it's so strong, and I think we have tremendous people. I think we have a tremendous group of people. We talked about a number of them. You look at Marco, you look at J.D. Vance, who's fantastic. You look at, I could name 10, 15, 20 people right now just sitting here.
So a couple of things. He mentioned Marco. He mentioned Vice President Vance. And people think that's a big deal. He doesn't just say J.D. Vance is my... But why would he? Nobody does. Eisenhower didn't pick Nixon. Reagan didn't say George H.W. Bush has to be the next president. He lets it play out just to respect the process and let people earn it through the primary. Plus, I mean, if you think about it, everybody is on board outside Nikki Haley. Almost everybody that would want to be president is on board working for him in some capacity, whether it's in the Senate, the House, or actually in his cabinet.
And he reminded Kristen, he said, I'm only 3 months in. I don't know, he was talking about other policies, but that makes sense. He's only 3 months in when it comes to J.D. Vance. We don't know yet. Yeah, he seems like a strong candidate. He seems like he might run for the position, but we're what, 3.5 years away from an election?
I guess the two things that struck me was, first, that he didn't flinch when she said, will the MAGA movement continue without you?
Of course it will.
He said it without a doubt. He didn't give any ambiguity that it's going to continue without. And I think the second thing is, not only did he say Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he said, I can name 10 other people as well, which is really true. The Republicans have this large bench of people. The Democrats are searching for some type of leader right now who's moderate, who still has the base of the party. There is a wide range, and the thing I like about it, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and JD, they're friends. They're working together, and all these people like each other, and I don't think the president is going to get involved in the primary
He also
process.
talked about due process. She asked about these illegals, and he said, if we give them all due process, they're here illegally. They came into our country. Do they really deserve the rights that people who did it the right way or citizens have? And he said, the problem is it's all going to get backed up in the courts. We're going to have millions and millions of people that have to go through the due process. He said, I was elected to get them, quote, the hell out of here, he said. He also talked about the ballroom at the White House. He's going to build a ballroom at the White House.
And pay for it himself.
On the other side of the Oval Office. Yeah, and he said he's going to raise the funds. Yeah. So don't worry, I'm not taking that from taxpayers. And then the Democrats always say he's going to get rid of your Medicaid, he's going to get rid of your Medicare, going to get rid of your Social Security. He said, I am not cutting those.
Right. A couple of things. On Medicaid, that's where the rubber hits the road because Barack Obama and Joe Biden expanded the people who are eligible for Medicaid by so many that it's unaffordable and sustainable. It's like the #1 expenditure that the federal government's got to pay. It's supposed to be state aid, pay the states. So that's where the big battle's going to be. Just a quick thing on the MAGA movement. It's very similar to Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson became more powerful after he left office because James K. Polk, Martin Van Buren, Sam Houston in Texas, he had like 4 or 5 guys who went on to become president. They kept leaning back on Jackson. Every time something needed to be passed through Congress, they would go back to Jackson out of power. I could absolutely see Trump at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster
100%.
trying to break log jams in 2029 or 2032 or whatever it was.
Yeah, because he's shown no, I'm sorry, Angela, he's shown no signs of that he wants to slow down.
Right.
At
He
all.
wants
So
impact.
what Brian's saying is Jackson was the MAG, Make America Great. And then Donald Trump comes along and says, again.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So there was MAG and MAGA.
That's
and MAGA
absolutely.
will last for a long time, I believe.
I do too.
It's a movement.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.